ever since the Rippaverse was announced, I think that Yaira was the character that people cared most about. You saw people cosplaying her, you saw a lot going on, and people were wondering if the comic was going to be good and when it was going to be coming out. Well, it's finally here. And Eric July has had the Soska sisters, as long as Deborah Carida, work on this book. And we are going to have a review for you today. My name's John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling author and award-winning comic creator. And guys, if you like Yaira, this is my book Overmind right here. And I would urge you to check that out. We're about to launch a new Kickstarter, which I'm going to put in the description below. So you can sign up for that right now. And, of course, join us when we launch in a few weeks here. And I really appreciate you guys for checking out the books. This Overmind book is available on my web store as well, if you want to check that out ahead of time, too. Thanks so much for supporting our comics. So here's Yaira #1. And it opens up with the scene from Isom, where she's fighting with Isom and then ends up in a fight with Alpha Core. So you can tell she's just kind of in a spot where she's emotional and she's charged up. And it shifts to some criminals who are watching on the news, like people speculate about her and Alpha Core, tying into the Rippaverse at large. We then get to a scene where she is being introduced at a science lab where she's a new partner there. Working for this company. And this was the scene that we actually saw in the live-action trailer. It's actually word for word. Once I saw this in the comic and the live-action trailer, people were kind of wondering and speculating about that, but it literally is a scene in the comic. So he was doing a pretty cool thing by showing that as the trailer for the comic book in this situation here. As she then goes through there, she then escalates, and one of the criminals from before who was watching shows up. Now, this lady, along with Yaira, is a pink-haired, half-shaved head kind of weirdo who's angsty and doing bad things. And she gets caught up in this fight with Yaira, and she ends up getting similar powers to Yaira. As that's going on, these other people from like some other distant realm show up who also have these powers and are then go after Yaira and say she's kind of betrayed her people. Very, very interesting setup right here. Just pure action. You get a little bit of the superhero secret identity sprinkled into here with a mystery, and the art's wonderful. I actually really love Deborah's art here. I think she's done a fantastic job, and I think this is some of the best art I've seen in the Rippaverse so far, and it looks great all the way through. The colors really just go nicely with her sort of light blue costume, and over this, Yaira kind of gets chased by these extra-dimensional beings, wherever they're from, with extra powers, and she's kind of has a gauntlet of them to deal with through this. Now, it stops at some point after a while. The gal who was fighting with Yaira gets captured by Alpha Core, and they're trying to figure out how to capture Yaira too. So Yaira's being come at from all ends, and Alpha Core tries to convince this girl to work for her. She kind of escapes, and we find out that Yaira kind of knows her grandmother, and then her grandmother knows that girl's grandmother knows that Yaira has these powers, etc. And that's eventually what's going to lead to a reveal as these fights continue along through this book. And the reveal is a backstory of Yaira. And so this comes about 3 or 4 quarters through the book. You just see these fights going on. You see these fights going on. There's some technology. There's these like drone bee things stinging people and hurting people. And so you get a smattering of different interests going after Yaira and fighting against Yaira here. And what happens eventually is the lady's grandmother dies, which pisses her off even more. She decides to join up kind of with Alpha Core and fight them against Yaira. And then it goes into Yaira's actual backstory about 3/4 of the way through this. And at that point, we learn everything about her origin, where she's from. Now, she is this is a gorgeous 2-page spread right here. Wow, what a great thing. The colors are pop, wonderfully done. Love the art through this. When we learn about this, we learn that she actually showed up on Earth about 1,000 years ago in the Nordic countries, had a lover there, and then had kids, And what happened was she watched her family die as she doesn't age, and she then kind of like lost it because of that. And so she eventually went off, and who knows what she did for the last 1,000 years. I guess we'll find out in subsequent issues. And then she's kind of like reemerging now, is what it comes down to. And so when she did this, when she left her world, that's when she betrayed her people, who are like they're from a place called Bifrost, which I guess is like kind of like it feels almost like a Thor-ish origin. And they're from there. And so this all explains everything that's happening, and she then explains that, you know, her immediate children didn't have powers, but those seeped out through the generations, and those came out, and that's what this girl is manifesting. So this girl that Yaira's dealing with and was fighting with as a criminal before, who her grandmother wanted her to save, is actually one of Yaira's descendants. Pretty interesting stuff on that level too. Now the girl ends up teaming up with Alpha Core after a knockdown, drag-out fight Yaira has with like these beings from Bifrost. And what's interesting about this is actually the most interesting, I think, part of the whole story, is the girl who has the SJW look, who's an angry woman being a criminal, evil, fighting against the hero Yaira through this, fighting against Alpha Core, fighting against everybody. She has a moment where she actually gets down on her knees and prays to God for forgiveness to change herself. And then after that, Alpha Core actually asks her to be a member of the team. I like this a lot. This is pretty good. I mean, this is about redemption and saving people. And little secret kind of based storyline in here where it's like, oh, you know, we need to convert these people to change them from their like terrible ways, because they are trapped in these like angry, screwed up like lives that are just, you know, anti-God. And then once you get them on the right path, you can actually set them on the right path and change people. And that's actually the message of Christ right there. So really, really interesting stuff. This is probably the most interesting part of the whole book to me. And I really hope if they watch this, that when she does come into Alpha Core, that she changes her look, like to like signify that she's been born again and changed, because that would be a powerful symbol of having a like SJW, look with the shaved head and all that, change a look to normalcy. And that's what we need to do, is actually use the culture to convert people to normalcy and back to goodness again. That's a lot of what this independent art's supposed to do. And so Yaira eventually meets with Neptune. And so we learn there are a bigger group of gods among us in this environment and in this world. And then it sets up for the next issue. So the fights were interesting. I mean, they were nice to look at. It was a little jarring pacing wise for a little bit of the book. And I actually think the mystery with Yaira's background kind of was something that was a hampering to the story, not necessarily a good thing that kind of got info dumped at the end there. If that would have came a little bit earlier, or maybe even at the beginning of the book, I think it would have saved some of the awkwardness, because we're mostly in Yaira's perspective, and yet the lack of internal monologue dialogue was used in order to not know who these people were coming after Yaira from her realm. And that felt a little false because of the fact that it was in her perspective. And so I think it could have not dealt with that. I don't think the mystery was really integral to the story so much as it was like her dealing with her problems of her past, having to overcome that. And then that was mirrored in the girl who was, of course, helping her on that, like coming to her own terms with her own past and then becoming a hero on her own on that level. And so that was the core conflict to me. And so that's where I think, this had an element where I think it just didn't quite resonate all the way. But other than that, solid story. Pacing was very fast, which I really enjoyed. The dialogue was fantastic. The characters all feel unique in who they are. They're memorable, which is good. The art's fantastic, and so this is an excellent addition to the Rippaverse, and a great place to start if you've not read it. I think the tie-in at the beginning, that you see Alpha Core, you see Isom, that helps, of course, to make the universe more rich and more robust, which is what this is going for. and a solid outing all the way around. 8.5 out of 10 from me. Good stuff. I look forward to seeing Yaira number 2 and where this goes. It's very clear the Sasuke sisters know how to write a story and know how to write a good character right here. And the artist is fantastic as well. So really wonderful stuff. And we'll be back soon. Make sure to sign up for our Kickstarter below and hit the like and subscribe button, my friends.